Previously on Cinema Therapy.
What I always thought was interesting is how this is a tale of compassion in really brutal,
Horrible, horrifying circumstances.
Yeah. But Katniss, throughout the entire series, chooses compassion when other people are choosing self-preservation.
Yep.
You know, when other people are focused on survival, she's focused on not losing who she is.
You have to win.
Her compassion shines through, and Jennifer Lawrence's performance is so strong there.
Yeah. And sometimes we find sources of inspiration, historical figures, people in our lives, things like that, but other times it really feels like you against the world. But the concept of not losing who you are no matter what's going on around you, it's beautiful and it's really hard in real life.
Yeah.
Because of what she shows in the arena, she's recruited to be the Mockingjay, to be a figurehead of the resistance, of the rebellion against the Capitol. And there's a problem. So Katniss singing to Rue and showing that compassion actually triggers riots in Rue's district.
In Rue's district and a couple other ones.
And a couple of the other ones. And that's, you know, that's what happens a lot of times when you have someone who exemplifies what people want to be but they're too scared to be, is it galvanizes a movement.
Oh, we can do it too.
Yeah, and so because of what she shows in the arena, she's recruited to be the Mockingjay, to be a figurehead of the resistance, of the rebellion against the Capitol. And there's a problem. She's not especially coachable.
No.
She's not especially great on camera.
Which, having Jennifer Lawrence, one of our greatest actors, play a person who's a terrible actor was actually really fun to watch.
It's super fun.
People of Panem, we fight, we dare, we...
Does she know the line?
I know it, I'm sorry.
She's
warming up.
Okay.
Jerry Seinfeld said that the #1 fear people have is public speaking.
I've heard this bit. Yeah.
Number 2 was death. Death is number 2? This means to the average person, if you have to be at a funeral, you would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy.
And some of you right now watching can totally relate to that. The idea of being in front of a crowd, the idea of speaking is absolutely terrifying. What if I choke? What if I do terrible? What are they going to think of me? What if I fail? You know, all these things that can go through your head.
Yeah.
And so I actually want to explore the psychology of not overcoming introversion, because introversion is nothing to overcome.
No, introversion's fine.
And, you know, recharging by being alone or with your select group of friends is, you know, that's as valid a way of being as anything.
Sure, yeah, that's at least as valid as being an extrovert.
But if we're going to influence for good, then we have to be seen.
Right, you have to be capable of being in public without it crippling you.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about how Katniss works through that. So let's take a look.
Okay, this will be interesting.
People of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end this hunger for justice.
And it's all CG'd and it looks like a video game.
Yep.
Madam President, indulge me for a moment, if you would. Let's everybody think of one incident where Katniss Everdeen genuinely moved you. Not where you were jealous of her hairstyle or her dress went up in flames or she made a halfway decent shot with an arrow, and not where Peeta made you like her. No. I'd like you all to think of one moment where
You just gestured to all of me.
Real.
When she volunteered for her sister at the reaping.
Excellent example. Okay. Now, I hope that wasn't important.
It looked very important.
Volunteer forces. Good. What else?
Oh, when she sang that song for little Rue.
Oh, yeah. We didn't get choked up at that.
I didn't get choked up.
You know, I like you better, Effie, without all that makeup.
Oh, I like you better sober.
When she chose Rue's Alex.
Yes.
Now, what do all these have in common?
No one told her what to do.
Unscripted, yes. So maybe we should just leave her alone.
Can we just take a second to appreciate this entire cast? Jeffrey Wright, Mahershala Ali. Come on.
Spontaneity are obviously lacking below ground.
Philip Seymour
So what
Hoffman,
you're
I miss
suggesting
him.
is we toss her into combat.
I can't sanction putting an untrained civilian in battle just for effect. This is not the capital.
Now, hold. That is exactly what I'm suggesting. Put her in the field.
No, we can't protect her.
It has to come from her. That's what people respond to. You want a symbol for the revolution. She cannot be coached into it. Trust me, I know.
Some places it's dangerous.
District 8. They reported heavy bombing last week. There are no military targets left.
We can't guarantee her safety.
You'll never be able to guarantee my safety. I want to go.
And if you're killed?
Make sure you get it on camera.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's so great right there. Pause.
So great. Like, that line is really good, but what sells it and makes it hilarious is Philip Seymour Hoffman's feels okay. Oh, so good.
You've told me before that that acting is really just feeling.
Yeah.
It's accessing things and really feeling them, and letting it be real enough to come out.
For sure.
As a director, do you have experiences where you help people tap into something very real to get the performance you're looking for?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's most of what my job is once I get on set. Is helping people access something that's going to tell the story the way we want it to be told, right?
Yeah.
I directed a short film with my son where he had to be absolutely terrified. He was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. He had never been in his life as terrified as he needed to act. So he didn't have a thing that he could access. I basically talked with him and was like, okay, we're going to do a pretend exercise. This is pretend. I don't want you to actually, go to this place or whatever, but I need you to feel more scared than you've ever been in your life and then turn it off and let's practice. And so we worked on that for several weeks before we actually got to the shoot. And when we got there on the day, I was able to talk to him for about 2 minutes and he was terrified, absolutely petrified, shaking, stuttering, stammering, and then we called cut, and I walked over and was like, okay, Sam, we're done with that now. Yeah. And he was like, cool, can I go have more chocolate-covered almonds? Because, he was able to pretend his way into a feeling. And that's one acting technique. An acting technique that's usually more effective for adults is just accessing something in your past.
Yeah.
Or a combination of, I have a past trauma, I can tweak it so that it's more like the situation that I'm in and I can do something else with it. But
this episode is sponsored by Acorn TV, the largest commercial-free British streaming service.
And you know how we love our British television.
That we do, Alan. That we do. They've got thousands of hours of bingeable shows with weekly new releases and content you won't find anywhere else.
Run you through some highlights. Foyle's War. It is a murder mystery set in the countryside of England.
It's the world that we inhabit.
During World War II.
That's
fantastic stuff. There's a War and Peace.
Ooh.
Mini-series, Vojna i Mir, for our Russian viewers out there. And they got the new season of The Gulf.
You're not dead?
No, I'm not today.
Which I told you about. Very dark, sort of David Fincher murder mystery set in New Zealand, where you would think everything's a Taika Waititi movie.
As you can see, I'm made entirely out of rocks. But you don't need to be afraid unless you happen to be made out of scissors.
Turns out, they can go dark there.
They can go very dark. Season 1 had some impressive themes about trauma and grief, just a lot of grist for the therapy mill.
The wrong paper scissors joke there.
It's just $5.99 a month and you can download the app and stream to any of your devices, Apple, Android, Amazon, Fire TV, your grandpa's old ham radio.
Probably. With Acorn TV, there's always something new to discover. Try Acorn TV free for 30 days with our code CinemaTherapy.
Now this is very important. The promo code is case sensitive, so you want to do CinemaTherapy all in lowercase.
So go to acorn.tv and use code CinemaTherapy and you can start watching more shows for free today.
What, are you reading the copy in lowercase? Is that what you're doing?
Well, the code has to be in lowercase, so I figured the rest of the ad read should be in also lowercase.
So here's Katniss, and a bunch of innocent civilians just got bombed.
Yeah, so they've put her in combat. They bombed a hospital.
Well, so her side put her into combat, and then the Capitol bombed the hospital.
Right. And so she's just reacting. She doesn't have to act anymore. She's just showing up.
Help them! Help! Get them out!
And this has helped her
Katniss?
break through her introversion.
Katniss, can you tell everyone what you're seeing right now? Katniss, what do you want to say?
Yep, look at the camera right here. That's it. This is my job. I hate that that's me, but that's definitely me.
I want the rebels to know that I'm alive. That I'm in District 8, where the Capitol just bombed a hospital filled with unarmed men, women, and children. And there will be no survivors. If you think for 1 second that the Capitol will ever treat us fairly, you are lying to yourselves. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do, and we must fight back. I have a message for President Snow. You can torture us and bomb us and burn our districts to the ground. But do you see that? Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
If we burn, you burn with us becomes a rallying cry for millions of people who are watching. And it just came from this real honest place. So, you know, I did stage comedy in college, so did you. And I had this weird thing where I could perform in front of 1,000 strangers and not choke. But if there's a girl in the audience that I wanted to impress, or if like family was
like
visiting,
a family member,
or people from out of town were visiting, and I really wanted to, like, I would get nervous and I would choke and I would psych myself out and I wouldn't do well.
Yep.
And there was a fellow cast member who was always on. I never saw him off on stage. He never bombed. And I asked him
this
what
had to be Joel, right?
This was Joel. And I asked him
so
what his
good.
he was so it was always good. And I'm like, and I asked him what his secret was. And I thought, you know, picture people in their underwear, like, you know, those things that people say.
Yeah.
And he said something to me that is like completely has stayed with me ever since. He says, I always think that there's someone in the audience who is having the worst week of their life. And I am going to help them remember that they can laugh and feel happy.
Joel said that?
Joel said that, I know, right? Because he's almost always just...
He's such a goof.
He's
he's like cynical.
Yeah. But it was...
wow, that's really deep.
But it was super profound. And from then on, anytime I got nervous on stage or on camera, even now when we do these shoots, sometimes I get nervous, like gearing up to...
I'm constantly nervous when we're doing these.
And I remember that advice, and I think there's somebody who's watching, or if I'm on stage, there's somebody in the audience
who needs
what I have to offer, whether it's to make them laugh or that there's a message that I have or there's skills that I'm sharing or whatever that can lift them or can give them something that they can use in their life. And I don't make it about me anymore. And then suddenly it's easy just to get locked in and just to be real.
Well, that's way better. I always just tried to picture everybody in their underwear, and then I'm on stage trying to just not get aroused.
Until I took a trip to the other side of town. You know I heard that boogie rhythm.
I brought us to this beautiful moment and... Okay, so the third component that I want to talk about when it comes to Katniss is
front butt?
No. Stop trying to make front butt a thing. Stop trying to make front butt happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
He's the front ass.
What the hell is that?
James Bond with just an ass.
My name is Bond. James Bond.
The thing I really want to talk about, and I think all this is very important, but is how Katniss handles trauma is such a through line. And she, even before the games, she's had
she's
traumatic...
traumatized, yeah.
I mean, she's in District 12, she's been almost starved to death. You know, she lost her father. Every year she faces the reaping, like the potential that she could get called into the games. And then she volunteers for her sister, and then she goes to the games and witnesses people being killed and has to kill. Did you ever see a movie, My Dog Skip?
No.
You would think it's just like this wholesome little family movie about a boy and his dog.
Sure.
It's about a boy and his dog and his brother who just came back from the war, who's traumatized and has PTSD. Like, it's deep. And there's a line in that movie that I think is so profound. He says, what people don't understand about war, it's not the dying that gets to you, it's the killing. You know, they think you go into battle, you're afraid to die, but like actually taking life, what that does. And she definitely has PTSD before the games.
Yeah.
And now she's going to go into something called complex PTSD. We're going to watch this, and then we'll talk about what the difference is and how to deal.
Oh, jeez, this one. I was not ready for this when I saw it.
You're okay, you're okay. You're okay, you're safe, you're safe. It's okay, you're here with me. You're with me.
Her panic is just so visceral.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
That is so realistic
We should
to what that is like.
go.
To have flashback memories from PTSD, you know, where you're triggered and it takes you right back into the trauma.
Yeah.
And not everybody who experiences post-traumatic stress disorder has vivid waking flashbacks where they believe that they're back in there. But to those who do, I mean, that is hell.
Yeah,
That
I can
is-
imagine.
Because no matter what, even if you know where you are and when you are and what's going on, that you're safe now or whatever, a trigger is terrible. Even if you mentally know what's going on, it brings you emotionally right back to what you were in. And you may think, I'm safe. Just because you think it, there's a disconnect between what you think and what
You
you
don't
feel.
feel it, yeah.
Yeah. But then there are cases of people who've been in combat situations or they've been in extreme trauma where they will lose space and time.
Right.
I am back in the arena.
Yeah.
You know? Storytelling wise, I mean, it just shows you watch a scene, you hate the Capitol for doing this to her. I can tell you, as someone who works with trauma patients, that is exceptionally realistic.
Wow. That's horrible.
Yeah.
I would assume this is more common than like waking
It's a dream.
sort of hallucinations, right? Having nightmares.
Yeah. It's just a dream. It's okay. I get them too.
Peter, will you stay with me?
Yeah. Always.
I love that he, you know, that he immediately understands the nature of that request.
Yeah. He gets them too. He knows.
Yeah. I'm sure he wakes up and he just wants to be held.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a female thing. I know I definitely, there have been times where my wife holding me, I told you last month I had a panic attack, had a lot going on in my life, and was really to the max stressed out, and her just holding me, and she's like, put your head on my chest and breathe with me. And that was huge, and it brought me back from an anxiety attack. A nightmare is cinematic shorthand for trauma, right? I mean, that's...
Generally speaking, yeah. It's the quickest way to show it.
Yeah. And it's cliche, but it's also very accurate.
Right.
Right? Even more than the waking visions and things like that is when you're asleep and you can't choose what you think about and you can't choose what you focus
Your
on.
subconscious is going to do what it's going to do. And,
Yeah. And so with trauma, we have things like avoidance of reminders, avoidance of triggers. We have intense hypervigilant fear response where you can't really experience peace or feel safe.
Right.
So here's the difference between PTSD and CPTSD or complex PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder usually occurs when you have a trauma that happens once or multiple traumas but in a short period of time. Yeah, in a compressed period. It's like, here's the beginning, here's the end, and I know now that it's over. And
so
now
I was in a situation, I'm no longer in that situation.
Right.
It's a thing I can compartmentalize.
Right.
But it'll, like, you get stuff.
It'll keep coming up and I'll deal with it and, you know, I can work through it, but like it's over now.
Sure.
And in Katniss's case, you could argue that she's had CPTSD from the start because she's been starving, her dad died, you know, there's the reaping every year like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Capitol has been inflicting this on her and most of the districts for 75 years at this point.
Yeah. Even if that's not the case, even if, which I think it is, I think she has CPTSD when we meet her in the first film. And then she thinks, well, that was hell. I made it through the games, but now I'm set for life. My family's not going to starve. I can't be reaped again because I've already been, I've already gone through it.
So now that's over for me.
Yeah. And so she may believe I can start to heal.
Right.
And then this happens.
Each quarter quell is distinguished by games of a special significance.
So we're going to do a quarter quell every 25 years. There's a big special
Of our
games.
defeat of the rebellion, we celebrate the third quarter quell as a reminder that even the strongest cannot overcome the power of the Capitol On this, the third Quarter Quell Games, the male and female tributes are to be reaped from the existing pool of victors in each district.
And she's the only female victor in her district because they've all the other girls from her district have died.
Regardless of age, state of health, or situation.
Again, she is a stunningly great actor. Gosh.
So hard to watch.
I mean, in the context of the story, it's sick and it's cruel. And in the context of reality, with complex PTSD, I mean, even though they say P as in post, you know, what's actually going on.
With complex PTSD, it's just complex TSD, right?
Yeah.
It's just trauma is still happening.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
Jeez.
And it's either you're in the middle of it now or it happened over years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
And being raised in an abusive home or being in a situation that you couldn't get out of. Some people say CPTSD isn't a thing because it's not in the DSM-5. It is in the International Classification of Diseases.
Oh, is it?
And really, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a construct to describe something that's very real.
Right.
We don't have the time or the breadth to go into here's the full treatment of how you deal with CPTSD.
We don't have the next 6 months, sorry.
I've got a side video, Mended Light, on how to deal with trauma triggers. But here and now, narrative therapy is one of my favorite ways to treat trauma. I mean, we've talked about this before.
Clearly.
Narrative therapy means the facts of my story don't change, but the meaning does.
You can recontextualize it.
You can recontextualize it and reclaim your power. From I'm a victim to I'm a survivor, or I'm an advocate, or I'm somebody who is now prepared for something like this in the future, or prepared to help others, right?
Okay.
So that's narrative therapy. There's EMDR therapy, which is proven really, really effective in helping people to rewire the brain after trauma through these rapid eye movement exercises. But by and large, the most effective treatment for trauma that I've seen is figuring out how to live again, like how to live a life, which is what this story is building to. That the people who traumatize me, or the experiences that have traumatized me. What I love most about Katniss, we talked about this at the beginning, when the world is immoral, she's moral. When the world is without compassion, she has compassion. When the world is supremely messed up, there may be limits to what she can do, but she's going to do literally everything she can do to make things better.
Yeah.
And what's really hard about this is she does get there and she does make things better at a heavy cost and after wave after wave after wave of pushback.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate truth is the only way to overcome trauma is to go through it and do the work.
Yeah.
You know? In this scene, we talk a little bit about how to actually work through trauma. We've got two characters who've been through hell. We've got Katniss. We've also got Finnick, who, like Katniss, has been through
the same hell, if not, worse.
Yeah. He's been through 2 games, and just like her, someone that he loves has been taken and used as a pawn to try and control. And so Katniss is asking him what he does about his nightmares and his...
He's also been sold into sexual slavery, which is not awesome.
Which is terrible. Yeah. And so he's going to talk about how he deals with all the he's been through.
How do you live with it?
I drag myself out of nightmares and there's no relief in waking up. But it's better not to give in to it. It takes 10 times longer to put yourself back together than it does to fall apart.
Oh, interesting. I want to get your clinical opinion on that.
Yeah. So first of all, the idea of I drag myself out of nightmares and there's no comfort in waking up.
Relief waking up.
Yeah, that's such a great line and so true to Suzanne Collins. I don't know her history, but she writes like somebody who's
trauma real well.
Yeah, and gets the experience.
I worry, are you okay?
Well, and a lot of people who've been through hell, their art is their therapy.
They write their way out of it or they paint their way out of it.
Yeah. So I can't speak to her experience, but she writes like somebody who's been through it. The concept of not giving into it, because it takes 10 times as much energy and time and work to climb out of that hole as to never fall into it. It's a powerful sentiment. The truth of it is sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you can't stop it. Sometimes you can't choose the way he's talking. So this is a very empowering statement, and I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying the added layer is sometimes you are trying not to fall in that pit.
Right.
And you're going in.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to claw your way out. The notion that I really love about it is when he talks about not falling apart. That could be unhealthy if you look at it like if you are overly stoic and not allowing yourself to feel and not allowing yourself to process, you're just trying to keep it at arm's length and avoid it, then it's just going to bite you sometime when you don't choose.
When you're not, ready for it.
And so there's a difference between falling apart and I'm going to face it. And so if you've been through something traumatic, if you've been through something PTSD, CPTSD, I mean, it really doesn't matter. You don't need to just toughen up and work your way through it. Get help.
Yeah, in fact, you need to not do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Please get help.
And there's two layers of this. There's professional help, people who have been trained, who understand what you're going through and can help guide you through it. And then there are friends and family. And it's best not to conflate the two or confuse the two because your friends and family play a specific role, which is to love you, which is to be there for you, which is to mourn with you and suffer with you and let you know that you're not alone. But they're not the people who are going to give you the skills and the tools. And so each group has its role, and when they're all working in tandem, that's when you have the best results.
Right.
So, but I love Katniss Everdeen. I watched all the films when they came out, and then I watched them again to prep for this. I enjoyed them, or at least I appreciated them a lot more the second time, because the first time it was a little too dystopian for me. I'm used to the good guys pulling it out in the end. I'm used to
winning and happy ending, and this they sort of win, and it's a not great ending.
Well, there's peace, and we find something on the other side. We find a life for ourselves. But at the same time, it reminds me of a line, once again, with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
The battle's done, and we kind of won, so we sound our victory cheer.
The battle's done, and we kind of won?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Very much so.
And that was really hard for me the first time because I'm so used to American cinema where it's, okay, things are going to get rough, but then the heroes are going to triumph in the end and maybe have some losses. But the losses here are devastating.
So
to the point
many.
where the victory feels hollow and feels painful. But I take heart and I take courage in where Katniss lands. That she's lost people that she cares about, but she also has other people that she's found. Mm-hmm. And that she has to mourn, that her happy ending is bittersweet, to say the least.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately, I would love for us all to have a fist-pumping finale to our lives and we all live happily ever after.
I think the reality is a lot closer to this for most people than it is to that.
Yeah, that the best we can hope for is to rebuild and to find some semblance of peace and connection and love. But our losses are heavy.
Yeah.
You know?
Someday I'll explain it to you. Why they came. Why they won't ever go away. But I'll tell you how I survive it.
But Katniss, what a character and what a performance.
Yeah. One of my favorite cinematic heroes of the last good long time.
Yeah, awesome.
Very complicated, rich character brought to life incredibly. Good job, J-Law.
Yeah.
I know you needed my approval on this.
She's watching this episode going, oh, good, Alan liked it.
Oh, good. Oh, phew. Professional filmmaker Alan Seawright gives me the thumbs up.
So until next time. And watch movies. So wow, you really Caesar Flickerman to that.
I want the teeth because he's got fake teeth.
Yeah,
they're just teeth.
You could, yeah. Well, we can put that in post and give you good times.
Thank you for being here tonight on the eve of the 75th Hunger Games!